There you go. You're on mute.
Great, welcome. This is a regular scheduled meeting of Business Economic Development Committee. It is 7:05 on June 16. Around the table, committee members are Councilor Fish, Councilor Hawes, Councilor Leonard, Councilor Mallon, and myself, Councilor Fornia. Around the table, we're joined by all the city councilors. Also at the table is Director of Economic Business Development, and Krieg. Also joined by City Solicitor Dave Sevchek and our new city manager, Carolyn Lear. First up on the agenda is reconsideration of proposed modification to the development agreement on 8 Harlow. And I'll hand it off to our city solicitor.
Hi, City Solicitor Dave Sevchek. After the last BED committee meeting, when the proposed order regarding 8 Harlow Street was discussed, an issue was raised regarding the procedure that was used by the committee, where a motion was made and seconded, and then there was an appointment of one of the council members to take the place of an absent member. And then and so that the vote that was done on that item had 5 members, even though when the motion was made and seconded, there were only 4 members of the committee. There was kind of an issue raised at the meeting, and then the chair turned to me and said, is this something that, you know, in your opinion, that we can do and should do? And my on the spot comments were, I didn't think it was I think I said something like it was a very good look, but I wasn't aware of anything that would prevent it legally from occurring. And so that member was appointed to take the place of the absent member, and the vote was taken, and the item on a 3-2 vote was sent to the full council for consideration. Afterward, a council member raised an issue as to whether that could be looked into in depth, because of the fact that there was suggestion that shouldn't have been done procedurally that way. The assistant city solicitor, Grayson, and myself did a deep dive into the Roberts rules afterward, and I at the time I wasn't really comfortable with the way that proceeded, but again, I wasn't aware of any rule that prevented it. And you know, of course, that our city ordinance does say that in the absence of any member of a committee, any member or members of the council, including the council chair, may be designated by the chair of the committee to temporarily serve as a member of the committee. The ordinance doesn't say it has to be done at the beginning of the meeting, or it doesn't have any kind of limits on it in the ordinance itself. When we did our looking deeply into the Roberts rules, we did not find anything that said one way or the other that was inappropriate or was okay. There were only about 2 Roberts rules that we could find that were in the ballpark. One of them said that while debate is in progress, amendments or other secondary, subsidiary, privileged, or incidental motions can be introduced and disposed of, and can be debated in the process if they are debatable. So a member may both speak and debate and conclude by offering a secondary motion, which is a particular application of the principle that a member, having been recognized for any legitimate purpose, has the floor for all legitimate purposes. So that rule says that motions can be heard and disposed of while debate is going on a motion. What happened wasn't technically a motion, it was the appointment of a substitute committee member, but it's kind of like a motion. So that's why I flagged that rule that might suggest that procedure was legally okay to do at that time. There's another rule that says has to do with interruption of votes. When a vote is being taken, No interruption is permitted from the time that a member has actually voted until all have presumably voted, unless, as sometimes occurs in ballot voting, other business is being transacted during voting. So that rule suggests that if the voting had started, you shouldn't have interruptions, unless there, it does have an unless in there, so it was kind of remembered one way, whether the vote started, whether it hadn't started when the appointment was made of the substitute member. But if the vote had started, then that rule would suggest there shouldn't be interruptions. There could be a debate on whether that was really an interruption, that it took probably about 10 seconds. But the bottom line is, I wasn't comfortable when I made the call. And just because the rules say something can happen, that doesn't mean necessarily that I would think that it should happen. And so my problem with it at the beginning and afterward, when I looked into it, is that when the motion was made, there were 4 voting members on the committee. When the vote was taken, there were 5, and it didn't seem like that was a procedure that was particularly, I don't know, it just seemed like it was something that wasn't something that should have been done. Should have been done. I think could have been done legally. But anyway, my recommendation is that vote be rescinded, that the committee revisit that issue if they want to tonight on the agenda. Because that will moot whether or not, oh, and when I went to look back at the video, there was no video of the proceeding. So I couldn't look at whether the votes had officially been started or taken before the appointment of the substitute member was made. But that will all be mooted. I'm going to suggest that the committee rescind that vote and then relook at that issue tonight and vote whether it should go to the full council, if that's what the committee wants to do. And I would also answer any questions if you have.
Great, thanks. Questions? Comments? I'd be happy to take a motion to rescind.
Make a motion to rescind the vote and the process from the last committee meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. We have a motion, we have a second. Any questions, comments? Is there a doubt?
My only concern is that I think it was misrepresented. And that's just my opinion, that the vote had been taken before there was an appointment of a 5th member. So that brings up the question of whether there should be 4 members voting this time or 5. Officially we voted, and then it was called to have a 5th member. So basically what you're doing is changing the vote. I understand what rescinding is doing, but I'm just saying, I just have issues with, but that's just me. So I'll go along, but I will vote against this.
To me, I kind of look at this as a redo. We're just redoing, making sure everything's above board. Not that it wasn't above board the last time, but it wasn't all hinky. So I think in my mind, this is just a redo. So we have a motion, we have a second. Seeing no doubt?
Yeah.
You doubt, okay. Counselor Fish,
Yes.
Counselor Haas,
Yes.
Counselor Leonard,
Yes.
Counselor Mallard,
No,
and I will be a yes. So it is now rescinded. Now we'll go to the issue at hand on 8 Harlow Street. Do people want to go over the whole agreement again, or you want to just have a vote on the development agreement on 8 Harlow? Councilor
I have a question. I'm concerned about, and I'm not a banker, so I don't understand a lot of, letters of credit and all this. Is there specific dollar amounts tied to a letter of credit?
Yes.
Okay. So then I questioned the cost estimates that have been made because they're 2 years old. And I also question whether the bricks and mortar repointing, has that been completed? Has code enforcement said that's been completed?
Yes,
Because last time I talked with someone, it hadn't, so that's why I'm asking again.
they said that that part has been.
Who
completed.
inspected?
I believe it was, I'm not sure. But I can get that information to you.
So what we're saying is these figures being 2 years old are still accurate.
Yeah, I mean, this is our recommendation. The council can assign a different number if you feel that this number is too low. Your
We
request,
rely on you to tell us if it is, because I mean, I look at it and said, things in 2 years' time, we've had a vast increase in supplies and whatnot. And when I look back and say, okay, you're letting him. I don't think that's what it should be.
the letter of credit is to just make sure that they have the capacity of credit to be able to do the project. It's not the same as like, say, a performance bond where like in a subdivision, sometimes you put in a performance bond so that if they don't do the project and the city's stuck with these lots and this road that never got built, that you would be able to actually build it from that. A letter of credit's very different. It's just saying they have the capacity to obtain the credit necessary to do the project. So, I mean, if you feel that this number is too low, you can increase it.
Any other, Counselor Mallon?
Well, then that brings the question up. So if the project fails, where do we stand?
It's a private property. The city does not own it. So the city does not have any liability. It would, if he doesn't do the project, then it goes, hopefully we'll be able to find another buyer.
That's when I would not want to be the banker. 'Cause I'd
Yeah,
have
I
to take the
agree.
property,
Right, it's
but,
their,
I mean,
yeah, it's their
that's
risk.
the bank's issue, not
if
not
we
anyone
had-
else's issue.
If we had I don't remember what you referred to it as, a completion or whatever it was, guarantee to complete, we
Well, I
stand a
wouldn't-
chance of at least curing the buildings issues.
I wouldn't recommend that the city do that project because it's private property.
No, I don't mean this, I've forgotten the word. My mind I'm old. You've mentioned
The
something,
performance bond.
yes, performance. bond.
Yeah, but I wouldn't recommend that. I would only recommend a performance bond if the city were gonna do the project. If the property owner or the developer in that case failed. In this case, if there are code violations in the building, we would issue what we do with any other property, a notice of violation.
Counselor Dean?
Yes, I'm not a voting member, but I'm just a little confused at the holdup on this, because in my mind, the project has already failed. And now we have a buyer who is willing to take over and actually do something with the property. So I'm not sure why we're putting up so many roadblocks to the purchase.
Other questions? Comments? Counselor Fish?
When we took this up before, I believe what we asked them to comply with, the only request we had of them was to supply a credit, letter of credit. And they've done that, correct? So,
I don't think it was a letter of credit. We just wanted to
yeah,
see what
we just-
the estimates
the
were
estimates
for
were,
completion.
and we have those. So, in order to get this moving, what else do we need to accomplish tonight to get this back on track?
If the committee's amenable to pass a motion to forward to full council, will be on your next agenda.
I
Counselor
make a
Fish?
motion to pass this on to council.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion. We have a second. Questions, comments? Seeing none? Is there a doubt? Seeing none, this would move on to council. Full council. Next up on the agenda is airport leases, Lyft and Uber.
You want to come up, Jose? So simple, 1 year.
This is the airport director. We have our yearly renewal of our Uber and Lyft agreements. Nothing has was modified in the terms of the agreement that we have on those operating agreements.
Questions, comments? You want one motion or one separately for each?
Doesn't matter if it's.
Let's do one motion
Yeah.
for both. And I'd be happy to accept one.
I move that we send the airport leases for Lyft and Uber forward to council on 23rd.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, no doubt. Should move on to full council. Next up, 2025 Planning Division Mid-Year Report.
Yep, our planning officer, Anya Colette, as this is the year of, building that's directed by the city council. We thought we would start between this meeting and at your John meeting to give you a 6-month, how we doing, how are things going, report on that. So, Anya, thank you.
All right. So just some highlights from the report that I had put in your packets. Unfortunately, we haven't had a lot of housing applications this year. We've had 2 that have been on hold for a little while because of either sewer capacity issues. There wasn't sewer capacity in the area, or there was some state permitting requirements they were working through. At the time I wrote this, we did currently have one under review, and then we just got a new one like yesterday. So that's what we have as far as residential. Most of what we've had for projects that have come in have been commercial. We had 2 really big projects earlier this year, which is what pushed the square footage number so high. We had the Encompass Health project, and then also Bangor Savings Bank new building addition on the waterfront. And we also have a couple more that are pending just recently. So a lot more commercial than residential so far. But I will say, like, overall, it's been a slow year for development in general. We just haven't seen a lot of applications come in overall. Besides development and zone changes, which we also haven't seen a lot of either, we are working on the technical review report for the land development code update. Staff had reviewed that, and currently the consultants are working on getting a public draft out. So you all will see that as soon as we have it ready, and we'll come to your next, hopefully your next the committee meeting with that. And we will plan also to do public meetings, public outreach with all of the information from that report as well. And then just other projects in progress. The primary thing that's taking up a lot of time right now is just implementing the grants that you've approved. We currently have 4, well, I have 4 pending that I'm working on implementing. And then, like I said, the land development code update. A lot of development plans have come in just recently, and then just hiring for a new planning analyst as well. So are there any questions on that?
Let's go back.
Yep, just had a question about under other projects, the review of the city's historic preservation ordinance.
Mhm.
Do we have an estimate about when that might come before council, or?
July, we were looking.
Yeah, your first meeting in July.
Any questions? Thank you for the update. Great, next up, CPACE program.
So this item is to get your approval, hopefully, on entering the city into a CPACE program or pass a CPACE ordinance, which would allow us to enter into a program with Efficiency Maine to administer a CPACE program, CPACE being Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy. And this program basically allows commercial property owners in the city to get a lien on their property to finance energy efficiency improvements. It's just another form of financing for them. And basically the passage of the ordinance would just make it so that people in the city can do it. And then we would have to enter into an agreement with Efficiency Maine, where they would take on the majority of the administrative burden for the program. They have a list of capital providers that would give people the money to do their work. And then the city would just
be a party to, or we actually would have approval over the project agreement for each project that would come forward. We would just have a file for it essentially and get updates from the capital provider. We would not be responsible for any type of funding. As far as if somebody were to default, if they were to default on this lien, the CPACE lien, as well as their taxes, any delinquent amount they owed on that CPACE lien, if the city has anything left over after paying, after recouping our own expenses, the city would pay what's left from that, on the CPACE lien. But after that, as long as the city's the owner, we wouldn't be responsible for any CPACE payments or anything like that. If they defaulted just on the CPACE lien, the capital provider would take over all of that. We wouldn't have any involvement in that type of default. So there's basically no liability from the city. This is just allowing businesses to do this and just really providing them a service. So.
Council Fish.
So if we opt in, it's not mandatory. This would be any commercial development that wanted to participate in the efficiency program.
Yes.
Any other questions, comments? I think you addressed mine, just that the city has no liability, if people don't pay their bills, other than normal course of stuff. I'd be happy to accept the motion. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Questions, comments? Seeing no objections, this would move on to council. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's my place here.
Yeah, I just had a couple of
Yes.
things that had come in after the packet went out. I had a couple of requests for support of other agencies seeking grants. Sometimes we write letters of support for other groups, but we always come to the committee first to ask permission. So the first one is from the Wabanaki Public Health and Wellness Group. They are going for a grant initiative that's called the Hometown Grant Program with T-Mobile as the grantor. And what they want to do is with the funds is to so do some improvements to their windows at their location here in downtown Bangor, just to do some more signage and dress up the windows. And I think that would be a great project for the downtown. We all know that to activate downtown spaces is to have things at the pedestrian level. So I think it would be great if they were able to get this grant. But again, I wanted to make sure the committee was okay with us sending a letter of support for that. John,
Questions, comments?
does it require any funding from the city?
All right, Councilor Mallon?
Does it have to go through HPC first?
If it's interior window, no, it's only if they were doing facade work, exterior work. But window,
They're
people do,
not changing the configuration of the windows.
no,
Okay.
no, yeah. They have that long window on Central, so we wanted to make sure they could, do something there. And then the other grant program is from the University of Maine School of Policy and International Affairs. They are trying to establish what's called a Coverdell Fellowship Program, which is a intern program that connects people that were in the Peace Corps with internships when they come back, so again, doesn't require any city funds at this time. I mean, if we ever wanted to do an intern program, this would be available to us, but the letter of support is just for the UMO to be able to pursue that fellowship program.
Questions,
Support?
comments?
Okay,
Good to go.
and Jose, did you have a director? Yeah, both directors.
Sylvester, back with your full director. In speaking with Anna, we just kind of decided to team up on, the director's report. I realize it's been a couple of, different sessions since last time I came in to visit, so I have no major, updates other than, the projects that we have ongoing. The runway, it's on its seventh closure, so things are moving smoothly with that project. And some of the other construction projects that we have, like the replacement of our jet bridge to gate 11 and the connector project, are mobilizing and moving along pretty smoothly. So it's been kind of steady for us at the airport, moving along with a busy summer season, kicking things off. But I also wanted to open it up for any other questions. I understand, again, like I said, that it's been a couple of meeting since last time I provided an update. If there's anything that I can answer that.
And Brad, when you said things are steady, that is very good. Councilor Pelletier.
Has the runway project produced any unexpected closures?
No,
That's good.
not this year. Not this year. What we did is, obviously last year, it's a project, for context, the runway gets replaced every 20 years. So last time that it was, that we did the rehab project was a very long time ago. And, from 20 years ago, things have changed quite a bit. And so year one, we experienced a number of, setbacks along the way, things that we had not planned for. And so this year we took a lot of those lessons into account and built a schedule that had buffers built into it to avoid those type of unexpected closures. So,
Thank you.
Councilor Trumbull.
So when is the last closure?
So right, the runway is closed right now. So it closed this morning at 8 AM. It will reopen on Wednesday at 3 PM. It will reopen in the shortened version, and there will be one more closure of 17 hours later in at the end in mid-September, I believe. It would have minimal impact to the traveling public. The biggest impact that we see is during this 55-hour closures. So this week is the last long closure that we have.
Councilor Beck.
Have you heard any feedback on how the direct routes to Detroit and Atlanta have been working out?
Yes. So you might recall that earlier when we brought in the announcement of Atlanta and Detroit, that they had announced a CRJ aircraft, which is a smaller type of aircraft. Within a few weeks after those routes were announced, they had to upgrade their fleet to the largest aircraft that they have. So they're doing very, very well. And the data that we're collecting out of those temporary and seasonal routes allows us to build a better case for when we have the conversations with the airlines for a little bit more of a robust discussion on, because we actually have tangible numbers that we can use for those conversations.
Great. Councilor Trumbull.
Because the Detroit, that's only a week, it's just Saturdays, right?
It's just Saturdays. For the week of 4th of July, there it's gonna be daily. Both the route to Atlanta and the one to
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. We had that as a daily flight to Detroit, probably 10 or 12 years ago.
So as I mentioned during one of the last updates that I provided, sometimes is the availability of their aircraft and crews to operate those flights. Again, for us, those were big wins just to even do the seasonal. And so once we're able to provide that data back to when we're having discussions of expansion, that is the best that we can do as far as bringing in data of actual routes and expand it. And they initially, so from the initial announcement, they, number one, they upgraded the size of the aircraft, and number two is they extended 6 weeks. I believe it was 3 weeks. I'm sorry, 6 weeks at the end of the initial announcement.
Right.
Yeah.
Anything else? Great, thank you. Appreciate that. We'll go into executive session. So anyway.
Sure. I move we go into executive session 1 MRSA, section 4056C. Disposition of real property or economic development, 2 items.
Thank you. We have a motion, we have a second. Questions, comments? Roll call vote, Counselor Fish,
Yes.
Counselor Hodge.
Yes.
Counselor Leonard,
Yes.
Counselor Mallard,
Yes.
and I'll be yes as well. All right, we are back out of executive session. It is 7:46. You happy to accept the motion?
I could tell you more. I would move that we approve the first disposition of real property that we discussed in executive session.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Should we name the property?
What's the address for,
39 Florida Avenue.
so,
So the property at 39 Florida
Yep.
Avenue.
that will go to full council.
So we have a
To move
motion.
it to full council, yeah.
Right, so we have a motion, we have a second. Questions, comments? Seeing none, that will move forward. On the second property, which is Hildreth Street.
Hildreth Street,
110 Hildreth
110?
Street. Mhm.
did you second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Questions, comments? Seeing none, no doubt, this will move on to council as well.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else before the group?
That's
You
it.
sure? It's not even 8 o'clock.
Not even.
We are adjourned.
All right.
Thanks, Brett.